What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Mets Centrals. It's Mets Fan Interaction Game 125, where the New York Mets defeat the Baltimore Orioles by a score of 4-3. And before we get into the post-game recap, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe on the channel. We greatly appreciate you guys supporting the channel, and we want to keep feeding you content for the rest of the regular season. Also, make sure to turn on post notifications to let you know anytime we upload a video or go live on the channel. But yeah, let's get into post-game recap. And there's only one place to start with this game, and that's Francisco Alvarez. Alvy desperately needed that walk-off home run. He desperately needed it because this is a guy coming into the season. We all had massive expectations for him coming off a year last year where he had 25 home runs, and we expected more. We expected to see a lot of power this year. And we haven't seen it that much. We haven't. I mean, like I mentioned before, hit 25 home runs last year. And with the home run tonight, he only has six. Which, and listen, I understand that, he missed a lot of time this year due to injuries. First was the thumb injury, and then he had the shoulder injury. But, you know, he really had a good start of the year and a really good June into the first half of July. And then second half of July, and especially after the All-Star break, his performances just dropped. Like, he has not been playing well. And listen, we've talked about it on the podcast. We've talked about what his kryptonite has been. And it's been the fact that the low and away breaking ball, he hasn't been able to hit it. Whether that be the slider or curveball, he just hasn't been able to hit that pitch. And he's had a tough time laying off that pitch. But listen, we all know what Francisco Alvarez. We all know what he is when he's on his game. He's working the count, taking the ball to opposite field, obviously hitting for power, and you just hope that this home run sparks him, and we start to see the home runs now come. Because listen, if the Mets want to make the playoffs, right, they need Francisco Alvarez. They need him at his fullest because we need him to hit home runs. If this lineup wants to be productive, and like how we saw it was in June and July when it was going through its massive tear, the key to them winning ball games was them hitting home runs, and Francisco Alvarez needs to be a massive contributor to that. But also, there's other places to talk about this game as well. David Peterson, good job, David. Very good start out of you. I did get a little pissed off, obviously, because of what happened in the seventh, and we will go over that in the post game recap. But, he gave you 7 innings, which you take. He pitched really well today. He had his fastball working well, his changeup working well, got swings and misses, got a lot of ground balls. It was a very good David Peterson start. Obviously, like I said before, we'll get into what happened in the seventh inning. But listen, right now, especially the last four starts, the Mets have gotten length from their starters. Obviously, you had Manai go 7 innings, Savvy pitched a complete game shutout, Blackburn went 6 innings yesterday, and Peterson went 7 innings today. So, yeah, good signs, good signs. And listen, they desperately needed this win. They desperately needed this win. After not being able to complete the sweep yesterday against the Miami Marlins, they had to get out on the right track with this series. And with this win, listen, step in the right direction, but you still got 2 more games to go in this series, and I would just love it if the Mets could find a way to sweep this Baltimore Orioles team because it would just be massive. It would just be massive. But anyway, guys, let's get into the actual post-game recap. On the mound for the Mets, like I said before, David Peterson, and on the mound for the Baltimore Orioles, Trevor Rogers. So a nice lefty-lefty matchup here in this game. Starting off the game, Austin Slater leading off for the Baltimore Orioles. Peterson would walk him. Then he would get Adley Rushman to ground into a double play. Then he would get Gunnar Henderson to strike out swinging. Bottom of the first, Francisco Lindor lead off for the Mets. He would strike out. Mark Fiennes would then hit a single. And then JD Martinez would come up big and would hit a 2-run home run into right center field. And this is another guy the Mets need if they want to make a big push for a playoff spot. JD Martinez, he hasn't really been the same since I'd probably say late June. He hasn't been the same. But listen, if he could start to heat up right now, that's another guy that will be massive for this team. Pete Alonso would then ground out. Starling Marte would then hit a single. Marte would steal second, and Jose Iglesias would ground out to Jackson Holliday to end the inning. Top of the second, quick 1-2-3 inning for David Peterson. He would get Anthony Santander to ground out. Ryan Mountcastle would ground out, and Eloy Jimenez would strike out on a foul tip. Bottom of the second, Francisco Alvarez would hit a ground ball to Trevor Rogers. He'd throw it over to Mountcastle first to get the out. Tyrone Taylor would then line out to Colton Cowser in center field, and Harrison Bader would fly out to Colton Cowser as well to end the inning. Top of the third, Colton Cowser would hit a single. Ramon Urias would line out to Starling Marte in right field. Jackson Holiday would strike out. Colton Cowser would steal second base, and then Austin Slater would strike out swinging. Bottom of the third, Francisco Lindor fly out to Austin Slater in left. Mark Vientos would strike out on a foul tip, and JD Martinez would ground out to Jackson Holiday to end the inning. Moving on to the top of the fourth, Adley Rutschman would start off the inning by flying out to Starling Marte in right. Gunnar Henderson would be called out on strikes. Anthony Santander would then single. Ryan Mountcastle would then single. But David Peterson wouldn't allow anything in that inning as he would get Eloy Jimenez to ground into a force out to Mark Vientos at third base. Then bottom of the fourth, Pete Alonso would hit a double. Starling Marte would have a sacrifice bunt to move him over to third base. Jose Iglesias would strike out. Francisco Alvarez would walk, and then Tyrone Taylor with a big hit as he would drive in Pete Alonso to make it a 3-0 ball game for the New York Mets. Harrison Bader would then line out to Austin Slater in right to end the inning. In left to end the inning. Top of the fifth, Colton Cowser would be called out on strikes. Ramon Urias would hit a double, so he would go into second base. Then a pickoff attempt by David Peterson. It was a wide throw of Francisco Lindor, so an error on him. Urias would advance over to third base. Then next batter, Jackson Holiday would ground out to Pete Alonso, so that would bring in one run for the Orioles to cut the lead down to 3-1. And then Austin Slater would ground out to Francisco Lindor to end the inning. Bottom of the fifth, Francisco Lindor would walk. Mark Vientos would strike out swinging. Lindor would steal. JD Martinez would strike out. Pete Alonso would walk. At that point, Orioles made a pitching change. Colin Selby would come in to replace Trevor Rogers, and Mets couldn't bring in Lindor as Starling Marte would strike out on a foul tip to end the inning. Top of the sixth, quick 1-2-3 inning for David Peterson. Adley Rutschman would ground out to Peterson. He'd throw it over to Pete to end the inning. Then Gunnar Henderson would ground out to Pete Alonso at first, and then Anthony Santander would ground out to Mark Vientos to end the inning. Bottom of the sixth, Jose Iglesias would strike out swinging. Francisco Alvarez would be called out on strikes, and Tyrone Taylor will pop out to Ryan Mountcastle in foul territory to end the inning. Top of the seventh, this is where it gets interesting for Peterson. So Ryan Mountcastle would double. Eloy Jimenez would ground out to Francisco Lindor. Mountcastle would advance to third base. Colton Cowser would then strike out swinging. So you got 2 outs. Mountcastle's at third. You'd figure just make a good pitch here and get through the inning. Unfortunately, though, for David Peterson, he would mess up big time right here because he would balk, which would bring in Ryan Mountcastle. And then on the very next pitch, Peterson would make the pitch, and Ramon Urias would hit a no-doubt home run to center field to tie the ball game. And at this point, you're thinking it's like, so this is how the Mets are going to lose this game, right? Peterson pitches a very good 7 innings, but of course, on back-to-back pitches, a walk and a home run. This is how the momentum's going to swing, and this is how the Mets are going to lose this game. But thankfully, nothing else happens in that inning because Jackson Holiday would strike out swinging. But listen, apart from those 2 mistakes that David Peterson had, and also the error that he on the throwing error that he had on the pickoff, like David Peterson pitched a very good game. I mean, you look at his final line: 7 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 8 Ks, 1 home run allowed, lowers the season ERA down to a 3. So yeah, I mean, listen, you got a very good start from David Peterson, and listen, you take that every day of the week. Listen, it sucks that he made the 2 errors, but sometimes you just have to pick up your pitcher. Sometimes your pitcher's not going to bail you out every time, and sometimes it's the offense that has to bail out the pitcher. And thankfully, as we'll see later, Francisco Alvarez is the one to do that. But moving on, bottom of the 7th, Keegan Akin would come in to replace Colin Selby. Harrison, a quick 1-2-3 inning for him as he would get Harrison Bader to strike out. Lindor would line out sharply to Colton Cowser in center field, and Mark Vientos would be called out on strikes. Top of the 8th, Jose Budo would come in to replace David Peterson, and Cedric Mullins would come in to pinch hit for Austin Slater. Cedric Mullins would pop out to Mark Vientos in foul territory. Adley Rutschman would then ground out. Gunnar Henderson would walk, and then Anthony Santander would pop up to Mark Vientos at third to end the inning. Bottom of the 8th, Cedric Mullins would remain in the game in center field, and there would be a defensive switch because Colton Cowser came out. Bottom of the 8th, JD Martinez would strike out swinging. Pete Alonso would be called down on strikes. And this at bat pissed me off because Pete got it to 3-0, and then he just watched 3 pitches go past him for 3 strikes. Terrible at that. Terrible at that. Terrible at bat for Pete right there. Then Starling Marte would be called down on strikes to end the inning. Then top of the ninth, Edwin Diaz would come in to replace Jose Budo. He would strike out Ryan Mountcastle swinging. Then a pinch hitter as Ryan O'Hearn would replace Eloy Jimenez. Ryan O'Hearn would ground out to Pete Alonso, and Colton Cowser would pop out to Jose Iglesias to end the inning. So bottom of the ninth, O'Hearn would remain in the game. Sir Anthony Dominguez would come in to replace Keegan Atkin, and Jesse Winker would come in to pinch hit for Jose Iglesias. Jesse Winker would strike out, and then the at-bat we've been waiting for. And it was actually a really interesting at-bat, too, because so ALVY came up, Sir Anthony Dominguez got into a 2-0 count, and the very next pitch he throws is a slider low and away. And like I mentioned before, that has been ALVY's kryptonite this so far in the second half. And he shows a good sign. He lays off of that pitch to get the 3-0. And then, because even the booth brought up, even Gary, Keith, and Ron brought it up. Gary mentioned 3-0 count. Do you give Alvarez the green light to hit here? And Keith and Ronnie were saying, no, he's been struggling. Let him get on base with a walk and just put on a base runner to potentially bring him in as a winning run. But he doesn't. Dominguez throws him a high in fastball, and without a doubt, Francisco Alvarez crushes that thing to center field. And like I mentioned before, he desperately needed that, because now hopefully he gets some confidence from this home run, and hopefully now he goes on a tear, because the Mets desperately need him. But anyway, guys, that has been the post-game recap. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Obviously, tomorrow, second game of this series, 7:10 p.m. Jose Quintana's on the mound, and Kremer is on the mound for the Baltimore Orioles. But like I mentioned before at the start of the video, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe as well. Turn on post notifications to let you know anytime we go live or upload a video on the channel. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out, baby. Let's go, Mets.